Thank you for joining me on another episode of Cooking with the Blind Guy. My name is David. I'm 100% blind 100% of the time. Today we're going to be doing a French beef roast, also known as beef bourguignon, but I've kind of put a blind American twist on it. Now the things you're going to need, I always use gloves just because when you're working with meat and other stuff, it's just a safe bet. You're going to need an electric skillet, or you can use a skillet on a stovetop, but for the purposes of this video, I'm using an electric skillet that I got from the Lighthouse Vision Loss Center in Sarasota, Florida. They're great. You're also going to need a crock pot. Then you're going to need 2 pounds of brisket meat or chuck roast meat. You're going to need 3 small onions, 3 small shallots, about 1.5 cups of sliced mushrooms. You're going to need a small bag of baby carrots. You're going to need 5 russet potatoes. You're going to need 1/2 cup of diced cooked bacon. You're going to need 1.5 ounces of tomato paste, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, 2 cups of beef stock or beef bouillon. You're going to need 2 cups of red wine, salt, pepper, 2 bay leaves, and a little bit of butter. Okay? The first thing you're going to do, and I've already pre-done it, is you're going to dice up your 1/2 cup of bacon and get it nice and crispy. Next, you're going to take out your 2 pounds of brisket meat, or, like I said, chuck roast meat. Now you're going to want to put this into about cubes of 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to cut mine completely in half. Hold on. And then I'm just going to section it off in about 1 inch strip chunks. All right, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like I'm going to get 10 chunks out of this 2 pound chuck roast. All right. And for those of you who have seen my videos before and think, how does he do it so well? He can't be blind. I will be honest with all my viewers and tell you that before making any video, especially this one, I sit there and practice the location of all my ingredients and talk the recipe over at least 20 to 30 times before I hit record to make my videos. So don't think that I just pull out ingredients and just go at it for a video. That is definitely not the case. It takes a lot of practice. All right. So now that we've got that chopped up, we're going to sit there and put about a heaping spoon of butter in the electric skillet. Okay? Get that in there. All right. Now let that butter melt, and it'll mix in with the bacon grease that you have left over from cooking the bacon. Alright. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sear the sides of your meat. Once you get it in the heated butter to start the searing, you're going to want to dust it with salt and pepper. And then when you flip it, you're going to dust it again. So let's start placing our meat. Let's see. Turn on my heat a little bit. All right, so we're just going to place all our pieces in nice little rows, which makes it easy to flip later. All right. And a lot of what I do on my videos is all about spatial awareness and knowing, listening to the sizzle of the butter to where my pan is. All right, so we've got all our meat in there. So now we're gonna take our salt and pepper. And you see I'm holding my hand on the handle of the edge of my pan so I know where to salt and pepper. And for those of you who are old school Tupperware fans, these are my nice salt and pepper shakers from Tupperware's spring collection, I believe circa 1999, so pre-millennia. But I love them. All right. So while that's searing on one side, we're gonna go ahead and come back to our cutting board and we're gonna start slicing. You don't want to dice the onion, you want to slice it. So I've already taken the cover off. Hold on, I think I missed a piece. And we're just going to start real nice, thin, circular slices. Oop. Hold on, I lost some. All right. And then if you get to the end and need to, you can do the end in chunks. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's not diced, so that way you've got the chunkiness of the onion in this dish. All right. And one more. Hold on, I think that's still got some root on it. All right. All right, by the time you're done chopping those onions, it's probably going to be time to flip over your meat. So get your pair of tongs and flip over your meat. Hold on, I got one that's running away from me. And after you flip it, you're going to go ahead and want to salt and pepper it again. All right, so a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. All right. God. Now, hold on a second, let me grab an extra bowl. Alright, we're going to put our onions in the bowl and set those aside, so while the meat is searing that second side, we can go ahead and work on our potatoes. So, you're going to take your 5 russet potatoes and you're going to quarter them. So that's pretty much in half and then in half again. Alright, and these you can throw directly into your crock pot. so we're gonna cut those in half, quarters. All right, and then right in to the crock pot. All right, we got 2 more. Like I said, when you're cooking blind, it's all about taking your time and feeling what you're working with. A good memory helps, but it's not required. All right. All right, so that's all our potatoes. All right, at that point, you should have a nice sear on your meat. So you're gonna go ahead and transfer all your meat into the crock pot. Make sure you feel for the edge of your crock pot so you're not throwing meat on the floor. If you're like me and you have a dog, you will lose half of your meal. All right. Now, make sure you get all your meat. Once you have all your meat, go ahead and with that same butter and bacon grease, go ahead and saute your onions. While your onions are sauteing, go ahead and add your baby carrots to the crock pot. And please, if you use a knife to open them, be very careful and make sure the blade is faced away from your body. Alright, there's all our carrots. And you can go ahead and take your half a cup of cooked bacon. Get that in there. Then your, garlic, your minced garlic. That would make this your tomato paste. And then your 2 cups of beef broth. All right. Once you get that, excuse me a moment to get a spoon. Go ahead and give all that a good mix in your crock pot. All right. Check on our onions. By now, they should have a nice little golden brown. So, what we're going to do is get them all to one corner and start transferring your onions to the crock pot. Okay? Now, you're going to want to have your crock pot on high, and you're going to cook this for 2 to 3 hours. I usually go for the 3 hours just because I like my meat nice and tender and give that flavor extra time to permeate through the dish. I think that's about all of the onions. So we're gonna unplug our electric skillet. And I'm just gonna move it behind me to cool. Alright. Finally, you're gonna wanna add your 2 cups of red wine. Alright. I've picked a nice German hot wine just because I like the flavor, but you can choose any wine from bottle to box. Nobody's gonna judge. Alright, and then you're gonna add that into your crock pot, and you're gonna wanna mix that up some more. Get all those onions mixed in. Alright. And let's see, just because I want a little more coverage, we're gonna add just another cup of water. And now as it's cooking, if you check on it and stir it, and the water's starting to get a little low, you can always add more water or more beef stock to it while it cooks. Okay? That seems like a perfect level. Alright. Now, like I said, you're gonna cook that in your crock pot for about 2 to 3 hours. Emphasis on the more like 3. Now, while that's cooking, we've already got our pre-sliced mushrooms. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your shallots and you're gonna dice your shallots. Okay? You're not gonna add these to the crock pot just yet. Whenever you hit the 3-hour mark, you're going to sit there and toss in your mushrooms and your shallots for an additional 20 minutes past the cook time. So let's go ahead and get our shallots nice and diced up. And we're just gonna, for the time being, add that to our container of mushrooms. Now you can, if you want to help release the flavor, is saute the mushrooms and the shallots, and that'll help really release that extra flavor before you add them to your crock pot. One more shallot to go. Like I said, this is probably my most complicated recipe yet, but it's a really good one, and y'all should really give it a try. All right. So now we got our shallots chopped with our mushrooms. All the rest of the ingredients are on high in a crock pot for 2 to 3 hours. And there you go. You have just made a French beef bourguignon or French beef roast the American way. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next recipe.